now, dude, we're gonna bring on Katie. She is a breast cancer survivor, diagnosed at the age of 26. How are you doing, Katie?
I'm doing really good. How have you been?
I am awesome. It's so cool to see you. We were talking earlier today, and I don't think we've really gotten to chat since 2018 when we were at that Dallas Stars game, right?
Yeah, not really. It's been pretty busy since then.
Yeah. Well, I want to get everybody up to speed who's watching right now. You're probably one of the youngest people diagnosed that we've ever had on the show, being diagnosed at 26. And I really want you to take everyone back to when you were first diagnosed and let us know how you came to find out that you had breast cancer.
Yeah, so I was probably like right after I turned 26, I noticed a lump on my side right in here. And I had kept an eye on it for months and months. And my OBGYN actually was like, let's get it biopsied and hopefully it's nothing. And then on July 6th of 2018, he called me and told me that I had breast cancer. And it was probably the scariest day of my life. I'm not even gonna lie. It was pretty bad. And then not even a full month later, I ended up having my first, big surgery for it. So
Wow. What did they give you any details about the cancer when you were diagnosed?
yeah, I had about a 3-week waiting period in between, well, like 2 or 3 weeks in between the time that they actually did the biopsy and the cells and everything came back. And I ended up having stage 1, grade 2 ductal carcinoma. So it was actually really deep in my breast tissue in the actual milk ducts themselves. So
Wow. It's really lucky that you found that and that you kind of you and your doctor kind of jumped on that and really were meticulous about, following through and seeing what was going on there.
yeah, it was really scary. Like being so young. I mean, I'm still really young, but being young and being diagnosed with, they call it the old person's breast cancer. It's not common for somebody this age in this age range to get that, type of diagnosis.
Yeah. Like we talk about often that triple negative breast cancer is more commonly found in younger women, but it wasn't triple negative for you. Like you said, it was a older women's breast cancer.
Yeah, it was progesterone and estrogen positive. So I am now currently still on hormone therapy to block all of my hormones from starting back up. So I've been going through chemically induced menopause for the past almost 3 years. So that's been interesting to say the least.
Yeah, going through
Mhm.
that at such a young age, that's gotta be crazy. So glad that they caught it though, and that they're really going after it. Wow, that's nuts. So, what about the surgery that you had? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I ended up opting for a double mastectomy, which means I had both my breasts removed, and then I did reconstruction through the deep flap reconstruction. So they took pretty much all of my stomach tissue and fat and reconstructed my chest with it. Um, and that was the first surgery. And then about 6 months later, I went through and had a revision with more fat grafting, another tuck. Um, and, they ended up like tightening everything and lifting it and trying to make it look as normal as possible, I guess. And I still had complications after that. So I've had 3 surgeries in total. The last one ending up with me doing another fat grafting session and implants this time because of complications with the fat grafting from before.
Wow, were these surgeries like really painful? Like, was each one extremely painful? Because like I remember when I had my double mastectomy, it's like you just don't realize the muscles that you use when you like push up from a
Oh.
chair or from bed or whatever. It's just like super painful, or like lifting your arms up.
Yeah, the first two were pretty bad. The first one is a pain that I cannot even describe, if I was to be honest. I couldn't stand up straight for almost 2 months. I was hunched over. I had to wear binders for my abdomen and my chest. I had drains in for about a month. I had 3 different drains in, and it was very, it, it just, I don't know. I felt really, really pathetic the whole time because I couldn't move. I couldn't lift my arms up to eat very well. I couldn't lay flat. I had to sit up like how I am now for, 2 months of my life. and just be completely bandaged up for my whole midsection. And every move that you make, it feels like your skin is tearing. It's terrible.
Oh
I
gosh.
can laugh about it now, but like
Yeah.
in comparison, I've never went through anything like that before, and I would never wish anyone to have to go through that ever.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So you're diagnosed, you have your first surgery. After that, did you have like chemo as far as like infusions and stuff, or is it just this medication?
So they took out 3 lymph nodes, from my right side, where the cancer was at, and my oncotype came back low enough to where I did not need radiation or chemo. So I got really lucky with that, and it's probably because I caught the cancer so early. Um, so I've been on a injection called Zoladex since, right after my surgery, my original surgery, and I've been on tamoxifen as well. So I'll be on that for another probably 7.5, 8 years, um, before I can get off of it. But it's an oral chemo and then just hormonal blockers at this point. So
So I've heard of many of us are familiar with tamoxifen. Most women who are PR positive, ER positive, or any of those HER2 negative, anything except triple negative, take tamoxifen for a few years after they're diagnosed. But this shot that you're getting, I've actually never heard of that before. Which part does that care for?
so that actually stops the estrogen from producing in my body. Same with the progesterone. So that in combination with the tamoxifen kind of just stops everything dead. On my on my labs that I get every month, all of my levels have to be that of like a prepubescent girl for me to be in the normal range this at this point in my life. So um, every month without fail, every 28 days, I have to go get this huge needle. It's about 3 inches long in my stomach, and it's an implant that's slow release. So
Ah, that sounds
it's
awful. I remember, we were talking earlier and I used to get this Neulasta shot after each infusion for my first like 4 infusions, and it was a shot in my stomach, but now they provide this like little kind of like patch looking thing that people wear and take home, and then it injects like at a certain time. Like you'll just be sitting there and it's like, okay, that thing's gonna inject, in 3 days or whatever it is, and then it just like auto injects. I'm like, what? That is very, space age kind of crazy right there. But yeah, shots in your stomach are no cool. That's not cool at all.
Yeah, I developed an acute allergic reaction to the lidocaine that they use at the clinic that I've been going to. So I have no pain blockers for when I get my injections now. So I'm a trooper to say the least. Some days
Oh my
are worse than
gosh.
the others, but you know, I know
Yeah.
what to expect at least. Sometimes it's just really bad and it hurts for a couple days, and then other times I'm fine.
Yeah.
It just kind of depends.
Right. So you got diagnosed, had the surgeries. You're on these two medications. How long after the first surgery was it before you had to have your second surgery? And what led up to having that second surgery?
So it was about 6 months. It was a revisionary surgery. So whenever I had my double mastectomy first, I ended up doing a lot of skin grafting. I did not opt for nipple sparing. So I am completely like just, you know, everything that you would see up top, apart from like my actual like skin, it came from my stomach. So the second surgery was to reduce the amount of skin grafting that they had. So they tightened it up so that way I would only have like a line instead of these huge grafts across my chest. And then they also, on the deep flap scar that goes around my abdomen, they extended it around to my back and tucked that in so that way it wouldn't like triangle out. They call it dog earring. Um, like kind of like whenever you fold like a page flap down and it sticks out. That's what it looked like before my second surgery. So the second surgery was just to revise that, make the scars smaller, a little bit less noticeable. And then I want to say about 6 months, 5 months after that, I ended up getting a hernia again. The second surgery, I had a hernia repair as well because of complications with the first one. But I had a third surgery for hernia repair, and then I want to say in December I had that, and then the following April or March I ended up getting my third reconstructive surgery done.
Holy
So
cow, the hernia is adding a whole new level of just pain in the butt.
yeah, I've had 2 umbilical hernias because of my muscle wall in my abdomen not being strong enough. And with what I was doing for work and stuff, it just broke down over time, and I've had to have it repaired twice. So my
Ugh.
physical being is not what it used to be, and I have to keep reminding myself that I can't do what I used to do. So it's been a learning process, a big learning curve for me.
Wow, I had no idea about the hernia problems. That's awful and not fun. So you've got all this stuff happening, and at this point, you have like a lot of scars. Like, do you still have very fresh scars everywhere?
Yeah, some of them aren't as noticeable as others. I try to do a lot of like massage, especially with like bio oil or like organic oils to help reduce the scar appearance. The amount of scars that I have, they suggested, or they told me pretty much the silicone strips wouldn't do anything for me. It would be a waste of money. So I do still have a completely, like from the front almost all the way to the back of my hips scar. Think of like a C-section scar, or I like to make a joke saying that a magician messed up whenever doing a flying lady in half, because that's what it looks like. It
Right.
looks like somebody messed
Tried
up and
to
had to
try to
stop.
saw you in half or something. Goodness.
Yeah. As for like some of the other scars, underneath my breasts here, it's pretty noticeable. I mean, like they're still really dark. They're really pronounced. They're about, a quarter inch to half an inch like wide. And then some of the other ones, like in spots you can't even tell that they're there, and it's nice. I don't really notice them anymore, if that makes sense. Um, like I just don't even notice them.
Well, you've gotten used to your own body. It's like, I was telling somebody the other day, I have a lot of scars myself, from various things over the years. But then I have like tattoos too, and some of my tattoos, I was like, oh, they were cool at the time, but now I don't like love them. But they're just like part of me, so it's not,
Mhm.
it's just like it's whatever. It doesn't bother me. I'm indifferent. I'm just like that's part of my body, and so that's what you get, and so you can just kind of get used to it, and it becomes not as big of a problem. But did you go through a period where it felt different?
Oh yeah, I struggled really bad, and I still do in a lot of ways with body dysmorphia. I had a really hard time like coming to terms with what I looked like in the mirror. I had a lot of problems losing weight before my surgeries, and then I had issues with gaining it back after the surgeries, and it was a really big struggle for me. So um, I would say up until probably, oh, I don't know, probably July of last year. July of last year is the first time that I wore a bikini again, and I cried when I put it on and went out in public. It was really hard for me, and one of my really good friends was there with me and kind of was like, "You look fine," and I was like, "Okay, okay, woo." And
Those are the best kind of friends.
yeah, and I mean, nobody stared. I thought people were going to stare. I thought somebody would like ask questions, and I think at the time that I got this diagnosed, and up until about May of last year, I was with somebody. I had a long-term relationship, and the way that I was treated after I had cancer, and the way that I started accepting myself after we broke up, was a big turning point in my life for me. Um, so I've gained a lot of self-confidence, and I definitely feel more like myself in my own skin now than I have before. Um, it's really complicated to explain. Like, it's something that you just don't understand until you've gone through a big body transformation. Like, I've had to accept this body as my own now, and it's not what I was born with and not what I had for 26 years of my life, but it's mine now, and I love it. There's a lot of attention, positive and negative, that comes with it, but um I wouldn't change it, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, and I think it's an important message too because this kind of a conversation isn't just directed to breast cancer survivors or women who've had double mastectomies. It could be a multitude of different, uh, you know, uh, distorted self images out there that people might have, for various reasons. And finding that confidence is so important and such a journey. I know, and it's really cool that you're like on the other side of that, and you can look back and recognize what you went through and embrace yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot of days where I still have those creeping feelings and a lot of, self-worth like doubts in my mind. And, I just have to remind myself that, nothing's forever, you know, like this will pass. The feelings that I have about myself, like I can choose to be good to myself or, have a pity party about what happened. But what happened, I made the choices that I did with what I had available to me. And, you know, I I can't change what happened. And all I can do is work on, being better to myself and being a better role model to others who, reach out to me and such. And I mean, I just got to keep looking forward because I mean, that's all you can do.
Yeah, and you really are a role model too. I really, am excited to be sharing your story with more people and getting this story out to folks through this Facebook Live and through the YouTube channel later. Because there's a lot of women I know that have gone through breast cancer that are young, and they don't have anyone that can really relate, or that have gone through some point where they just don't love themselves, like they should, and they just go through this just this desperate feeling of distorted self-image and hard times going through that, and that happens at all ages for sure. And so hearing your story and kind of a triumph through it, and like you said, there's still everybody still has their moments. I mean, even people that haven't been through as much as you, that maybe just like wake up and like, my hair looks like crap, and their whole day is, ruined, and they're overthinking it. And then they just, sometimes you just get that confidence, and you get that confidence under your skin, and you go out, and all that other stuff just disappears, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it took losing a lot in my life that I thought was really important to me to start really realizing what was actually important to me and, where my loyalties lie. And, I have a very small handful of friends who have been through this with me from the very beginning, who, you know, never questioned my decisions, never told me how to feel, never told me what I should be doing. Um, it was really surprising to see how many people thought that they had an input in my life when, everything was falling apart for myself. And, you know, they're no longer in my life, to say the least.
Needless to say, they are gone. Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing, going through breast cancer, it gives you, it's a new perspective on everything. So you kind of look at everything different, and you find out, what's important to you and who's important to you. And so, while it's an awful thing to go through, I think you would agree that it was a big growing experience for you, and you gained a lot from having gone through this experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm still learning a lot. It's not an easy topic to talk about with a lot of people, but some people are extremely receptive. There are people that I see out in public, and they'll be wearing something that's like Susan G. Komen or just like the pink ribbon, and I'll like, say something to them, and they'll be like, yeah, no, I'm a survivor, or I'm going through this, or I was just diagnosed. And then I get to, have a really good heart to heart conversation with them. And, a lot of the times they can't believe that, I went through it. I don't look like I went through it. Um, but every time that I look at myself in the mirror, I can see what I went through. And, I very clearly remember everything that happened. I mean, there was a point after one of my surgeries that I had seized coming out of anesthesia, and I was in the ICU, and I didn't have any family with me at the time. And, it was absolutely terrifying waking up and not knowing where I was at or when I was able to go home or if I was going to be okay. Um, so it's been a very long, interesting journey for sure. But, I would say it was a necessary journey for myself. Um, I've learned to be a lot more selfless, a lot more caring and empathetic and loving, and a lot less judgmental. It's not something I'm proud to admit, but I think that we all have been there before. Um, but I'm very proud of myself for how far I've come and where I'm at today.
Yeah, and there was something that you said earlier today that I think was really cool, and that was the whole, you have to take care of yourself first, or you can't help other people. And I know that that was something else that you learned from going through this as well, which is an important life lesson. I was telling you earlier, I was like, I didn't learn that till way later, you know? So that's really cool that
Yeah.
you found that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely a giver. I recently got married and now I have a stepdaughter, and um I have lymphedema flare-ups. Even though I didn't have a lot of my lymph nodes removed, I've had over the past month some really, really bad drainage issues where the lymph nodes in my armpit have swollen up to the size of golf balls. And, I can't pick up a toddler when that's happening. And I will literally sit in bed for hours in excruciating pain, just lightly massaging my arm because that's all you can do. And, it's just the really cruddy reality of it, but it's my new normal. It's that I don't know if anybody can really understand that, but when life, throws you punches, you just got to roll with it and, make the best out of it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that for sure. Earlier when we were talking, you were talking about that, the medications and everything that you're on, are, doing things with your hormones and all that stuff, and you're like this, menopausal, chemo induced menopause and all that stuff like that. I was curious, prior to that or at any point, did you actually do that genetic testing?
I did. I actually came back inconclusive for the genetic testing, which means it's not a negative, but it's also not necessarily a positive. So I do have like the HER2 negative gene mutation and the BRCA mutation. I have a mutation, but they just don't know what it is. So
Oh, wow.
um, my paternal grandmother had breast cancer, but since it's not genetic through my bloodline, I guess, the fact that I still went through with the genetic testing, gives, a huge wide scope of information to, the geneticists that are, constantly learning new information. So they might not know what it is now, but 20 years from now, they might have an answer for it. And, I think being involved in something like that was really important. And I definitely, pushed to have some of, at least my female family members and immediate family members to get genetic testing done just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That really is. And I'm with you. I feel like the genetic testing piece is super important. I know a lot of people don't do it or think to do it when they go through breast cancer, but I think it's very important, not just for your own family and relatives and stuff, but just for research, just so that they know, okay, well, how many people are having this problem and how many people aren't, and how deep is it and all that stuff. And like I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I had the genetic testing as well, but they didn't find a match on any of the ones that they know about, that they quote know about. But there's probably one out there that they don't know about because I have a lot of cancer in my dad's side. So I
Yeah.
feel that there probably is a mutation, some gene that's associated with it that they just haven't found yet. I'm going to stop and give a few shout outs real quick. There's been a bunch of people joining in here and asking people to drop in questions. We don't have any questions awaiting right now, but I do want to shout out to some people. Mike is in the house, Robin, Kathy, Glenn, Grace, Chris, David, lots of people hanging out. Joanne, Connie is here, Steve, Manuel, Gina, Dan, Irene, lots of people in the house hanging out. Man, thank you guys so much for joining. If you have any questions for Kaity, be sure and drop it into the chat. She is a breast cancer survivor. You're 4 years out. You were diagnosed at 26, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'll be turning 30 this November.
So
So
crazy, man. You're like a pup. It's so unbelievable that you've gone through all this. So, what's on the horizon? You have another surgery in front of you that you're going to need to have, or are you kind of clear right now, or what's happening?
so I recently just had a scare. So I got biopsied again last month because I found another lump, but it ended up just being a cyst. So, you know, really thankful for that. But with the fact that I got implants as my last surgery, within the next 8 to 10 years, I will have to either have them removed and replaced or figure out what I want to do at that point. So as of right now, I don't have anything else coming up, which I am super thankful for because the past 2 years have been crazy. Um, but yeah, I hope to keep it that way for at least, close to a decade if I can help it.
No doubt, man. You've had enough stuff going on just between, you know, in 30 years more than a lot of people have in 50 or 60 years. So it'd be nice to have a little break and let everything kind of even out, those scars start to fade, and get back to this new normal, like you said, would be really, really nice. So I was curious, do you have like any words of wisdom? If there's somebody out there watching right now, either on Facebook Live, on the replay, or on YouTube, and they are newly diagnosed and they're young, what is your words of wisdom for them?
Um, I would say meditation's a really good thing. Just having some time to yourself, and don't be afraid to reach out to, different organizations, different people. Like, not everyone's going to be a good fit for you. Um, like I said before, there were a lot of people who thought that they had a lot of input in my life. But at the end of the day, I had to do what was best for myself, and everyone's journey is different. So, you know, listen to advice, but do what's best for you at the end of the day. There's a saying that has helped me get through everything, that one of my old managers, and he used to tell me this, and he says, when it feels like things are falling apart, they're just really falling into place. And that's just, holding on to hope and believing in yourself. Um, it's scary. It's probably the scariest thing that you'll ever experience in your life, especially with the unknowing and the uncertainty. But you just have to, really dig really deep down and just believe in yourself, and, tell yourself that you can do this. You know, it, I still have to tell myself that, like, almost every day, if I'm being honest. But,
Right, right.
I survived cancer. And if I can do that, then I mean, what else can I do? And I would never have imagined that I could live through something like that and, turn out this way. So,
That's powerful. And you feel like everything's falling apart, it's really falling into place. I love that. That's super awesome. Like, I'm gonna carry that with me. That's good stuff, girl. Seriously. I want to give it.
I don't know what song it's from, but it's
Yeah,
from a song.
that's
So,
that's awesome. It's gonna be like a search, and if you find it, you gotta let me know. We'll add it to the comments here after you find out, or if we're able to find that, we can link up to it. But that's super cool. I want to shout out to Lawrence for being here in the house tonight. The crowd's a little quiet tonight, Kaity, but man, we're actually nearing the end here. We actually started a little bit early. But the last thing I was gonna say, you've said so many positive things through this conversation, that you've really grown, and got some really huge life lessons out of this. What do you think is like the best thing that has come from going through breast cancer?
I would say the best thing that came of it is, being able to find myself in it all and figure out who I actually am. Um, my whole life, I've been trying to fit different molds of whoever, I thought needed to approve of me or whatever. And, I've started taking my own path, and it's terrifying and it's scary, but, I know I'll be okay because I have that amount of faith in myself. So,
Thank you so much. I cannot wait for people to also catch this on the replay, and for more people to see this conversation with you over on our YouTube channel, and just get inspiration and motivation and encouragement from you and your journey through breast cancer. And I know we'll talk more over there on Survivors Rock, a breast cancer can stick it community, and our survivors group here on Facebook. And hopefully you can come back again in a few years and have you on again on the show and give us an update, see how you're doing.
yeah,
You
absolutely,
know?
absolutely.
Well, good.
And I mean, if you know anybody who, needs somebody to talk to, especially who's young and, feeling really alone, like, I can be here. I know a lot of other people in our age group that, will be more than happy to, just listen. So,
That's awesome. You're awesome.
like, you're never alone.
Yeah, I'll definitely be like, if there's, especially if there's anybody in our group, our Facebook group, I'll definitely tag you, be like, Kaity, I'm waving the flag,
Yeah,
man. We need your help over here.
absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
So cool, man. It was great catching up with you, Kaity, and good to see you, man. You have a great night, okay?
Thanks again, April.
Take
You
care,
too.
girl. Bye.
Mhm. Bye.
Everybody, that was Kaity. She's a rock star, man. So cool to see her and get caught up